From a villainous hideout on the moon to the community center in Angel Grove, all the way to the mysterious command center, you're listening to Mighty Morphin Podcast Rangers, where we cover everything from TV to movies and comics.
Welcome to another episode of Mighty Morphin Podcast Rangers. As always, I'm your host, Adam, and with me is my co-host, Nick. Nick, how's it going?
Adam, I'm doing great. Unfortunately, on the sports side of things, I'm not doing so great, but we're not here to talk about sports, so I'm just doing great. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. My hockey team is currently in a good spot.
Yeah, mine's not.
Well, they're rebuilding, so they might be, depending on who they get in the draft. But yeah, so I'm not going to jinx it by saying anything more. But they're in a good spot right now. Let's hope it keeps rolling for me. But we'll see. I'm not gonna jinx anything.
Right.
I'm not gonna talk about it. But we as Power Rangers fans are finally here for the day that we've waited for quite some time now. It was actually a day that we never expected, maybe a couple of years ago, to actually ever come. But we are here to review the reunion special episode of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It's the 30th anniversary of Power Rangers as a whole, which was started by Mighty Morphin. And so we have the 30th anniversary special, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always. And that's what we're going to review today as the bulk of our show. But before that, as we always like to do, we talk about news and rumors on this show when they arise, and we have some of that this episode. So let's start out with the confirmed news, and that takes us to the comic book side of the Power Rangers universe. As we know, there is the ongoing Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comic, which is fantastic, and Nick Zednik and I are going to do more reviews of that comic on this very show in the near future. But in addition to that comic, to celebrate the 30th anniversary, Amy Jo Johnson, the original Mighty Morphin Pink Ranger, is going to co-write a comic book series. We don't know how many issues it will be. They haven't specified. We don't know exactly when it's coming, but it is her take on the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers version of the franchise, of where she sees the characters and where they would be today. So it's her spin on that. Again, no information on who the artist will be, how long the series will be, but that's the gist of it. It's like her spin on, what happened all these years later to the Mighty Morphin team. Of course, she wasn't in this special in terms of, well, let me rephrase, because she kind of was. She wasn't. I can't.
She wasn't a main character.
She wasn't present in the current day. I can't even say that. She wasn't a main star of. She wasn't physically on set for the special. How about that? There, I figured it out. She wasn't physically on set for the special, and that angered a bunch of people. But this is her contribution to the 30th anniversary celebrations. So, Nick, what do you think about this idea?
Yeah, I think it's a really cool idea, actually, because, we've obviously seen that, comics are kind of like this cool medium to kind of continue stories on from a franchise, or it's a cool way to just explore a different, aspect of characters, what if you can't do it in TV or movie. So I like that, she's kind of making a comic in her own way, and, little do we know, well, I mean, we do know that, she is also a singer, songwriter, director, so she clearly has a unique vision, to do this comic, and so I think it's a great way. Fans love her. I think she's gonna make something very unique to Power Rangers. I think we can definitely we definitely should open up more possibilities to what we can do
Right.
with this franchise. So her being, such a lifelong staple of the franchise, I think it's a really cool idea. And as long as she does not, I repeat, do not openly admit that she broke up with Tommy via a letter, I think everything will be fine. How
Well,
about you?
you know who she broke up with Tommy for in that letter. In an alternate
And
universe,
it's
it was
it's
me.
it's who I despise.
It was me. No,
Yeah.
but
Well, I don't despise you. I
yeah.
despise who we think which was Jason. So we disregard
Oh,
that.
is that what the rumor is? I don't even know what is that the
Yeah.
rumor?
Yeah, that was the rumor.
Oh, right, because they showed up together in Turbo and they kind
Yeah.
of, yeah. Um, well,
Those
no,
those are some
it
dark days,
it
bro.
was me. It wasn't Jason. Never mind him. No, but yeah, for me, I think this is fantastic.
hmm
I'm assuming that if she's going to go another, alternate route from the comics continuity, Hasbro's probably and Boom Studios have probably briefed her on what's going on. So,
hmm
if in the comic continuity, um, and she is well in present day comic continuity, Tommy and Kim are together. In future comics continuity, which is the Sword of the Dragon, Tommy is with Cat.
Yeah.
So what I'm interested to see where she decides to go with it. Are Kim and Tommy together in her vision for the future of these characters? Are they not together? I'm very curious.
hmm
Um, and just to see where the other, like the older Billy, the older Zach, the older Jason, the older Trini, where they did I miss anybody? No, I think I'm good.
No.
Where all the other guys are
Yeah.
girls and that, I'm intrigued. I'm so looking forward to it. And look, outside of I don't want to spoil my thoughts on Once and Always, but outside of Once and Always, the
hmm
comics have been the best things. The best thing Power Rangers has been having happen to it. So I'm looking forward to that continuing with Amy Joel. And I'm glad she came back for this. Like at least she came back to honor the franchise that launched her career in her own way, and she's been really good with conventions and fans, and so all that combined, I'm happy with her contribution to the 30th anniversary, and I can't wait to read this comic.
Absolutely.
I'll be buying it day one, issue one, however long it goes. So there's that, and that's the comic side of the news. Um, Now we know that you know we just got Once and Always. We're getting season 30 in the form of Cosmic Fury, which is carrying on the cast of Dino Fury.
hmm
And then we are getting the Jonathan Entwistle, Jenny Klein Netflix reboot of the franchise with a whole new continuity. Now, what I'm about to say, the news Nick and I are going to talk about now is in no way official. Like this is not a report from Hasbro. This isn't coming from Deadline or Variety or um, or anything of that nature. Um, but there is a scooper, a journalist slash scooper, more of a scooper, but Jinsaku on Twitter, who's he's been right in the past, he's been wrong in the past. So take what I'm going to say with that in mind. But what he's hearing from his sources are this: that the Jonathan Entwistle Power Rangers show is going into pre-production in November. Um, there is also another show of some sort in the works. Um, Jenny Klein is in charge of both of these shows. Entwistle is going to be involved with the original one that we've known about for a while. And that despite this news of the reboot show going into pre-production in November and this potential new show, there is still a bit of a hiatus for Power Rangers expected post Cosmic Fury, which makes a lot of sense because they've got to film these things.
Right.
You can't just snap your finger and hey, there's a show or there's a movie. It doesn't work like that. So, but here's the wrinkle that I will sort of throw into the mix is that now we have Once and Always. And from what we're seeing and hearing, the reactions are pretty awesome from the fan base, but the Netflix viewership is doing quite well. I know that in the US, it was third. Here in Canada, it was sixth. And a bunch of other places over the world, it hit that third, fourth place ranking on the Netflix, the most popular shows. So that's really good. And this was happening beyond just the first day, which is important because the first day is when most of the hardcore fans watch something. So the fact that it continued beyond that is a positive sign. So I think there is every chance that if these numbers keep up, that we could get a continuation, like another special episode of, continuation of Once and Always. And we'll explain why I think that, when we get into reviewing Once and Always. But Nick, what do you think about the reboot show potentially going into pre-production in November and the possibility of an additional series?
Yeah, I think the production start date of November actually kind of does make sense. Especially when you consider a lot of projects that tentatively do want to come out in the following year usually do film in the fall.
Yeah.
So assuming that this is going to have that fall 2024 release, it kind of makes sense that it would start in November, kind of film throughout the spring. And then tentatively what I always imagined was that they still strike for that August, September release, which is when every new season of Power Rangers, to my recollection, really would come out as when school would start. So I think for Netflix to try to hit that, early fall release kind of makes sense to me. And look, they're gonna need something to replace Stranger Things with. So the faster you get on this, the better. And
Stranger Things, Cobra Kai, right?
Cobra Kai too. That's another one. Yeah.
So, and I think when they say young adult, I think that's the kind of vibe that they're trying to hit with this rebooted Power Rangers universe. So, yeah, look, I'm just excited. I'm in a mood.
Yeah.
And Once and Always has put me in that mood.
I know.
Look, I'm going to go into detail on what I did after the special.
Yeah.
It's nothing ridiculous. Don't worry about it. It's some,
yeah.
But my wallet won't be happy. I'll see that as a teaser.
You bought the helmet, didn't you?
No, I didn't buy the helmet. Don't worry. That's. I'm on the verge. I'm on the ledge. I'm on the ledge of doing that. So don't push me off through the course of the episode. But yeah, I'm excited to hear about casting characters.
Yeah, that's the best part, man. Yeah,
like what the idea of what the Zords look like, because presumably it's not going to be dinos again.
Right.
It's going to be something new. So I'm curious. I'm ready for this new evolution. But they'll probably have, let's be honest. They're gonna try and have some tethers to Mighty Morphin. The suits are gonna look there's gonna be elements of the suits. It's gonna have a Mighty Morphin kind of look, is my guess.
Right. Even
Yeah,
this, even the 17 one did it a little bit, you know.
like you
Yeah.
don't stray too far from the iconography of what the general audience thinks of something. So like Batman is going to look like Batman. Like yes, Robert Pattinson's Batman looks you know very tactical, but the roots go back to that '89. There's still that aesthetic
Mm-hmm.
of he's all in black. The whole thing. So there's the aesthetic has been carried over from '89 and just tweaked, but there's the remnants of that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
so that's going to be the case here. Like Superman doesn't come out and wear turquoise or
Right.
brown. He comes out and wears red and blue. Now sometimes the colors are off, but the
Right.
shading is different. But the iconography is not going to change from what is recognizable in the general audience's mind. So I
Mhm.
expect the same for Power Rangers.
I agree. I agree.
But I'm excited, and I look forward to actual official news
Yeah.
when it starts up and we start hearing things. And of course, Nick and I will be covering that from the ground up, and we'll be bringing you the latest when we have it. But that's all we have in terms of news. We're going to take a quick break, and on the other side, give you our thoughts on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers once and always. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
What's up, everyone? It's the Emerald Enthusiast. For all of your multiverse viewing and listening needs, check out our shows, which include Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters, Power Rangers, the Marvel Universe, and the DC Universe, including the Emerald Echo podcast. You can check us out on Podbean, and remember to subscribe right here on YouTube. That's the Multiverse Musings Podcast Network. From the first podcast to the last.
And we're back. And as promised, we are finally going to get a chance to review and discuss Mighty Morphin Power Rangers once and always. So, Nick, before we can review it, give us a little synopsis of what exactly is going on in this special.
Yeah. Wow. And real quick, I totally didn't realize I am actually rocking, no pun intended, some rocky red here. So
Yeah,
would you look at
and,
that? Wow.
if we ignore the fact that it's a Venom shirt, because I'm a simple man. The
There
first
you
thing that
go.
I pull out of the closet is what I put on,
There you
unless I'm
go.
going to a wedding and I got to look fancy. Then
Sure.
it's a bit of a
I
production.
know. I was hoping that you were gonna have like a plain green shirt on or like a white one to kind of correlate with me a little bit, but
But I
that's
got
all right.
black. I got black. I'm
There you
repping
go.
Zach. I can start doing some hip hop keto. I mean, we'll lose all the viewership. All the
Which was very cool.
the three people
Absolutely.
that are watching will leave, but I can do it. But at least I got the black on, so there it is.
Right. Yeah. No, yeah. So the plot of this one again, and it's kind of really fascinating. Like when you go back and watch the trailer actually does give you what the plot really is, like in all retrospect. But it's essentially this idea that Billy, many, many years later, still even after the events of Power Rangers have all transpired, it's still in continuity of what the franchise still established, meaning that Zordon was gone, and Billy tried to bring Zordon back. But by doing so, you go back to Power Rangers in Space when Zordon sacrificed himself. They said that all his particles kind of, whether it was like a Z wave, right?
Yeah.
And then all of evil kind of went with Zordon. So Billy trying to bring Zordon back messed up and actually brought Rita back. But Rita,
Particles. Yeah.
her particles back. So long story short, they couldn't get the original actress, obviously, throwing that out there, for obvious reasons. So they kind of came up with this idea of Robo Rita, was kind of the villain of the overarching special, which makes all the sense in the world because it's the 30th anniversary special. So to pay homage to that was really cool. But the plot is Robo Rita comes back into the fold and wants to essentially eliminate all of Power Rangers before they ever became Power Rangers. And by doing so, she tries to kind of come back into her younger self, so she can be at full power.
Yeah.
And she needs the Rangers' power to do that.
Yeah. So she's trapping the Rangers to siphon their power to activate her her portal,
Mm-hmm.
which will take her into the past to her
Right.
younger self.
Yep.
Where presumably I don't think she's going to um, transfer her essence into her younger self. I just think her plan was let's team up and cause
Right. The two
chaos.
Ritas together. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
multiple Ritas, and
Yeah. Poor Alpha, man. Still getting the shorter end of the
yeah,
stick
Alpha
these
Eight, and
days.
then Alpha Eight gets
Oh.
is the one that's co-opted
Yeah.
by Rita's particles, and
Oh.
Alpha Nine is the new is the Alpha at the command center.
Yep.
Um, so I the idea. First of all, I like the fact that this special starts right out with action,
Yeah.
Billy's taking on Rita and the putties, and
Hmm.
he looks pretty beat up at the start.
Yeah.
And then the Rangers come down, because he called for help.
Hmm.
Um, and there's this big fight. And before we get into what happened, I like the fact that, and when I heard it the first time, I had a big stupid smile on my face.
Yep.
They
Yeah.
used the voice recordings of the original actors, so they weren't there physically. I mean, obviously, Tui Trang was not there.
Yeah.
You know, it's unfortunate that you can. Jason David Frank obviously could
Oh yeah. We'll talk about that.
not physically be there, but and Austin St. John legally could not be there.
Yeah.
I don't mean to laugh. It's kind of funny.
No. No. But yeah, that's
Um,
true.
um, um, Amy Jo Johnson, declined, so she couldn't physically be there. But they used voice recordings for when when they're fighting, the yelling, the grunting, the it's their voices. It's the OG's voices, and that wasn't for me. That was enough. I was like, all right, I'm good. I'm good.
Hmm.
Um, and there's a point where Robo Rita is gonna um, um, hit Billy with her staff, and basically kill him. And Trini leaps in front of him, sacrificing herself for him. And when I realized that, here's where the moment that I knew that they were using the voices of the OGs was twofold. When I heard Kimberly's, yelling and I'm like, that's Amy Jo.
Yeah.
And then when Trini actually says Billy no, or whatever variation of that is, that's
Hmm.
Tui Trang's voice, and it's like, oh my god, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
then you see what happens, to her, and she gets hit and dies. Um, Man, did that hit hard right off the bat. I'm like, yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
They're gonna do it to me right off the right off the get go.
Yeah.
But I gotta give credit to whoever was in the suit for Kimberly, because when Trini is killed, the way she like falls to her knees in like agony and defeat was really really well done.
Yep.
Um, and I gotta say, I think right from the get go, I knew they were going to hit the tone. They were going to get the best of both worlds here, because you have the typical Mighty Morphin, stuff that is a little cheesy, but you love it, right?
Yep.
But then it's like, no, okay, we're growing up here because we're actually saying the word kill, die, and we're seeing a ranger actually meet their end, which we never saw at any point in the last 30 years,
Yeah.
except for the 2017 movie where Billy.
I think Lost Galaxy did it too, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, but it one
And
other time. Yeah.
yeah, where off, it
Right.
says the thing, but no, I don't think they've done it to this effect.
No.
It wasn't as visceral as this.
No. No.
Um, so, what did you think of that opening?
Yeah, the opening, like you said, it really sets the tone. I like the decision to open up with Billy too. As kind of one of the more long lasting
Yeah,
members of the franchise too. And
yeah,
like how much seeing Billy, meant to me, obviously, and as I did, know for you. But yeah, it did a great job establishing why we even need this special in the first place, right? And this idea that the whole special was tackling death and grief and legacy. And I loved it. And to be quite honest, I love that they went with the decision to actually take a real life situation that happened to somebody and find a way to still honor that
Yeah.
actor that played, the Yellow Ranger, right? Like what happened to Chewie Trang was obviously horrific. It was terrible. It was god awful. For them to come back 30 years later and honor her legacy,
Yeah.
to make it as a sacrifice to save one of her own team members, and for the team to rally around that sacrifice, not just to have
Yeah.
like a Yellow Ranger be the sole uh focal point of a special, but I thought that it was beautiful, and then you definitely felt the respect and the history and the legacy between Billy and Zach, which is why they were, I think, the ones that were mostly in the special in terms of the dramatic moments
At the
surrounding
forefront. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Trina's
because it
character.
wouldn't it wouldn't be as it wouldn't be as I mean if Steve Cardenas
Right.
and Catherine Sutherland are the ones leading the thing. I mean, I'm sure they were sad about Twee, right? But
Hmm.
as anybody would be, but members of the original core team would be the ones that were hit hardest by that loss, right? So
Yep.
it had to be Billy and Zach at the forefront,
Yep.
for
Which is very, very smart.
David Yost and Walter Jones. Um, so then they cut to a year later, and we learned that um, Zach is now the guardian of of well, actually, at first before the
Yeah,
show,
they decided to tell her the truth. Yeah.
because we meet Min for the first time when Billy and Zach are discussing about, okay, what are we gonna, like, what's the cover story, right?
It's a great scene.
Zach's like, well, we could just say she drowned, or and Billy's like, no, we have to tell her the truth. She deserves to know. And then Zach is like, yeah, but Zordon made it explicitly clear that we. And I think hearing this from Billy is important. When he's like, sometimes rules are made to be broken. Important things crop up, and that's important because Billy was always very um, uh, whatever Zordon said was the right course of action,
Right.
right? Um,
Hmm.
so for Billy to be the one that's saying no, like we have to go against protocol here and be honest, that's important because he's making the leadership, the hard decisions now. Um, um, and Zordon was very much a surrogate father to Billy, specifically because he spent the most time. When there was a situation, who was the one figuring it out with Zordon and Alpha most times? It was Billy.
Yep.
And so in fact, he takes on that role. And the fact that, Min walks in and, hears that her mother was killed in that fashion was really shocking. It was like a really jarring moment.
Hmm.
And then we jump to 1 year later, and we see that Zach has moved in to Trini's old place and has assumed guardianship of Min. And we also learned that Zach wasn't he a senator, or was he a
Congressman.
congressman? That's
Yeah.
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 So and then, but he left that, he vacated that position to take care of Min, and Min is we see her training, perform some martial arts in the back, and so she comes in. Her and Zach have really a nice conversation, and you really get a sense of their relationship, that they are like almost surrogate father daughter type deal,
Hmm.
and they're on their way to the gravesite to commemorate the 1 year since Trini's passing, and that's when we hear off screen the other MMPR Rangers morphing, and you hear Tyrannosaurus Dragonzord, Pterodactyl, and it's the OGs. And again,
Yep.
I knew I wasn't going to see them unmorphed, but I'm like, it's their voice. I'm good. Like,
Hmm.
I'll take this. Um, and so Rita's showing up again at the gravestone, and she's brought robotic recreations of Snizzard and who was the other one? The
Okay.
the Minotaur.
Yeah, I think it was Minotaur.
Yeah.
That sounds all right.
So she's gotten robotic versions of them, and so they start fighting the Rangers. And she's got this machine, and the machine is the one that she uses to, trap the Rangers. And the idea that she that Snizzard, basically uh, ensnares them and turns them into essentially action figures.
Yeah,
I mean, it's on brand. It's on brand, and
it is.
it's fantastic. I'm looking at this like with the miniatures. I'm like, so basically, Rita's one of us. She just wants to collect this stuff. I can't fault her for that. These are fantastic action figures. The quality of these action figures is fantastic.
That's a
I mean,
great way to look at it.
who wants to? Who could blame? I mean, she's going about it the wrong way, but who could blame her? Um, so and what I like about that battle is that in both battles that we see the Rangers in, I mean, they're doing their fair share of ass kicking, but they've lost both times. I mean, let's be honest. They're losing. So there's that. Um, what did you make of the fight scene in the cemetery?
Yeah, the fight scene was I thought it was really cool. It was really well done, like you said. So obviously, to hear the OG voices,
Yeah,
kind of, morphing, that obviously, like you said too, obviously establishes the tone of anything like that. And look, man, when Power Rangers is, at its more mature themes, I think is when the franchise is at its best.
yeah,
When it's establishing that, the Power Rangers are gonna lose here, but we got plenty of story left to tell, so fear not. But it was pretty intense. I mean, one of the monsters even destroys somebody's gravestone, which
yeah,
poor person. I hope that person didn't have a really big family because that's terrible.
yeah.
Uh,
That was
and then you obviously have the emotional backbone of needing to protect Min.
yeah,
And then you have Billy and Zach kind of still looking both ways, like they want to go help their team, but then they also want to make sure a civilian doesn't get hurt, an
yeah,
innocent one at that.
yeah,
So then when it's obvious that the Rangers are going to lose this battle, obviously, like, when Kimberly, Tommy, and Jason get captured, it's evident that they need to escape. So what's another nostalgic pull here? They go back into the good old fashioned automobile, Adam, which was
yes, sir. The Red Bug or
a
the
rad bug,
2.0,
which was
a
always cool to say. Yeah,
revamped version, which
exactly.
and it's revamped again on brand to
Mhm.
have Billy's color scheme. Like, gee, is
Yeah,
anybody shocked by that?
the person that wanted to drive it the most. Let's just recreate that color into that
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, no, it
and
was.
I thought the effect of it flying was really well done.
Yeah.
Um, um, and it's also here, after this scene that we learned that the new command center is in the basement of, or I think it was the basement, the underground floor of
Yes.
Cranston Industries,
Yes.
which
Because
is
it makes
Billy's,
sense. The other one was destroyed. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
which is Billy's tech company. Um, and you know, um, I like that they're making Billy sort of like the. I know some people are going to roll their eyes at this comparison, but he's kind of like the Tony Stark of the Power Rangers universe at this point.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey,
uh,
Billy was never a fighter, right? I mean, he was more of a
yeah, he
kind
got,
of tactician.
but kudos to the show.
Exactly.
He did get better over time in terms of the fight.
Exactly. But
Which,
it's so like in line with his character. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, so because they've lost, and the main Mighty Morphin team has gotten a huge, three of their members are down and have been captured. They invoke the Bandora protocols, which is basically Rita's back. She's causing some shit. We need everybody on board. And so what that does is that automatically activates, calls all past Rangers into action. And so we have Kat and Rocky beamed to the command center. And we kind of, in a quick way, we learn what they're up to. So Rocky is a firefighter.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool. Is on brand for him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was very quick to come, like when he was chosen to be a replacement, he was very much, willing and to jump headfirst into being
Call
a
to
hero.
action.
So that's on brand, and also the fact that he was interrupted while trying to eat is also on brand.
That is, yeah.
The show, and then Kat mentions sort of helping out at
It's cool now for us.
a junior karate school, which is, which I don't know if her son is attending.
Oh yeah, she said JJ. Yeah,
is he attending, or is it? It's not his, as in he's owning it, right?
my assumption was that she was either taking him there or she had just came back from going.
Right, but is he a kid just training there, or does he own it and she's helping out? Like, is he like, we don't know how old this kid is, and the reason why I'm skirting around the name is because his name is JJ, which is from the Soul of the Dragon comic, right?
I want to say helping out. That would be my guess.
Right, but is he a student there, or is he more of an advanced? That's what I'm curious about. I mean, they never say.
Probably student. I think. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's what I was curious about.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. Because how old is he? Is he as old as he was? Obviously not. In Soul of the Dragon, I would assume not.
I mean, like it sounded like she was like a full on mom still, right? So I want to say maybe he's like
12, 13,
13, 14. So that would be my guess.
Right. So in this continuity of the main show,
right,
they're taking from Soul of they're going in the direction of Soul of the Dragon, where we assume that Kat and Tommy are married, and they have JJ, which is cool. And I like that nod, and I'll explain why I like it even more after. So again, Rita has dispatched putties all over the world to sort of, and she's sending Snizzard and Minotaur, around to trap Rangers so she can absorb their power for her wormhole. And so they do that, and as they are called into action, like they actually have to fight and save people. Like we see them rescuing people, which was really cool because it was like this. I like the way it was shot because it was kind of like a one of those wonder kind of. I'm not saying it was as good, but it was kind of like in the vein of the Daredevil hallway scene. Remember? I mean,
yeah.
Right? They were kind of going for something like that in obviously limited. The scope of it was more limited, obviously, because of budget and things like that. But I liked seeing this grouping of Rangers team up in a big fight, like Kat, Rocky, Zach, and Billy. Yeah, well, it was just really cool seeing them team up. And what we learn is that it's very important is that as long as the Rangers remain morphed, they can be tracked. So they have to unmorph as often as they can to avoid tracking. All the while that this is happening, Min is dead set on taking up her mother's legacy.
Right.
And she's at the point where the only option here is we got to kill Rita. Billy and Zach are like, no, that's not the answer. Uh, it's not what we do. And so uh, earlier, Min had a conversation, and she basically lashes out at Billy, saying, "We wouldn't be in this situation if it wasn't for you. You called for help.
Yeah.
That's why, and to save you, that's why my mom is gone."
Kids are
That
mean,
was
man.
that was really hard.
That
That
kids are
was
mean, man.
that
Yeah,
hurt even me watching, because it's like,
yeah. That stung.
man, now they're getting serious. Like, look, you can talk about, really can talk about killing, and it's kind of,
Yeah,
it's jarring, but not really, because she's a villain. So you kind of like, all right, it's 2003. They can say the word killing.
yeah.
It's not a big deal. But when Min is like giving, like taking those shots at Billy, it's like, okay, not like, that's telling me that they're aging up, because
I know.
I don't know that we've ever seen that
Yeah.
to that level of Mighty Morphin.
Like, how dare you yell at Billy like that? We must protect him at all costs.
Yeah,
What's wrong with
it's like,
you?
it's like that. Like, finally, this show got the teenagers with attitude aspects.
Yeah,
Like, all right, they've nailed it now. It's good. We're good.
yeah.
So that was hard hitting, and what the fallout from that is, as Billy goes off and sort of, you know, formulates the rest of his plan, Zach has a heart to heart with Min, basically saying, you know, you want to be a ranger, why? And he says to her, he's like, what do you think? You think it's all fun? You think it's kicking ass and making quips, and it's not a joke. It's like it's hard. And he imparts to her that what you're looking for is not justice, it's revenge. That's not what being a ranger is about. So he kind of tells her, you have to stay here and listen. You know, Alpha's going to keep an eye on you, but stay here until our plan is done. The rest of the plan is first to trap Snizzard and Minotaur, and then infiltrate the moon base where Rita is finalizing her machine to open up the wormhole, and away she goes.
Mhm.
And so they trap Snizzard in like a crane. It's like a magnetized crane, and so basically they set the trap. They morph. Those two idiots come down and they get trapped. The cool thing was, and I don't know if you picked up on this, but piloting the crane machinery,
Mhm.
Device was Cat,
Yep.
which is very cool because wasn't the Megazord that she piloted a crane?
It was. So
Because
that yeah, that was
I
yeah.
saw a lot of people online. Well, shouldn't Rocky be the one, since he's a firefighter? Shouldn't he be the one operating the? And it's like, sure, maybe, but this is perfect because
It
Cat's
was
operating the crane.
yeah.
Like,
Yep.
come on, like, let's. And I like that Rita's minions were portrayed like this, because they had their moment to be uh, strong, right? When they were
Mhm.
trapping all those rangers, but you also have to show why Rita ultimately loses, because she surrounds herself with incompetence, right?
Exactly.
So I like that balance. And what did you think of the crane? The cat. Did you notice that right away? The cat operating the crane. Did you pick up on that?
You know what? Not the first time I did, but then like when I did it as like a rewatch, and I was like, there's so many like winks and nods that like they actually really do that are so subtle. Like you kind
Yeah,
of just said that it really was just
yeah,
cool. And like I said, they really all like that's why I love what the specials they give everybody still their own like big moments, right? Like for them, it was finally putting some respect on Rocky's name, which
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
all the more for,
yeah,
right? I
yeah.
mean, you we're the same way here. You know, we love Jason, and not that we
Oh
ever
yeah, he's the OG, but I think
we
Rocky got a
hated
bad.
Rocky, but
He had a bad rap
Exactly.
in the series because at that point Tommy was the White Ranger,
Right.
and who's going to take leadership? Put it this way, they demoted Jason essentially to
Yeah.
make Tommy the leader. Did you actually think that they were going to give Rocky the leadership with Jason still there?
Yeah.
With Tommy still there?
With Tommy
Sorry.
still there.
Right. So he had an unenviable task to begin with because you're
Yeah.
replacing the favorite,
Mm-hmm.
but then also at the same point, the favorite Red Ranger, you have no chance of being the leader.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
what spot is he really being put in?
Yeah.
Um, but in this, he was really really well used, and he
Mm-hmm.
especially at the end he got his
It's got some cool kicks in there. He had some
yeah.
cool
Oh yeah, and
action in
he had
there.
a big moment
So,
with the Minotaur there at the
yeah.
end. Get to that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it was just it was cool to see. And I'll talk about this a little bit. In our wrap up too. But it was just cool to see him kind of
A Red Ranger finally
bugging
got to use
people.
his sword in a meaningful way. Who knew?
Right.
Uh,
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, obviously, them utilizing the plan and them actually trapping the monsters, I thought was really cool because that's always what we love. Like we love seeing them work together, and we love seeing
yeah.
them, take down the bad guys successfully. Their morphing sequences I thought was really cool.
Oh, I love the way they
Too.
updated those. Yeah,
When they morphed like that, I thought that was really
and the
cool.
teleporting. I love the teleporting.
Yeah.
It was
So
more like Star Trek than it was, OG Power Rangers, which I think the
yeah.
upgrade was needed. Um, but so we see two instances in the special where Min disobeys orders.
Yep.
The first was when she goes to the juice bar, or and she because she sees a news report. By the way, the news report was Buzz Blast,
Yeah.
and the reporter, and that's important because that is the news uh, organization in Dino Fury. So
Yep.
that's a tie to that.
Yeah, that was a cool nod.
So anyway, Min sees all the chaos going down in the juice bar, takes her mother's morpher and goes down, and is swarmed by a bunch of putties. And she's all confident. She's doing well at the start, kicking some ass. And then she's like, "You guys are in for a treat now." And she tries to morph,
Mm-hmm.
and her mom's morpher doesn't work. And then they gang up on her, and man, the putties were brutal here.
Yeah.
Two of
Oh,
them,
the one body slam on
yeah,
the
no,
thing
they
like
gave her
that.
power bomb on
I think
the
I
bar.
too.
I'm like, that's you guys are getting into wrestling now.
He's never
You're,
did that.
you're watching some WWE up there on the Moon Palace with that move.
Oh,
Um, and then Zach and Rocky. I was going to call him Steve, which is but it is. But anyway, so Rocky and Zach come down and they unmorphed and they fight together. That in the juice bar, that was cool. I like that.
yeah.
That was seeing those two unmorphed share the screen was pretty cool.
Yep.
So that was the one time that Min sort of disobeys orders. The second time was when Billy and the rest of the Rangers are off infiltrating the Moon Palace. They're doing so they're using this invisibility technology that Billy created and he gave to the SPA, which were Adam and Aisha.
Yep.
And we pretty much, they don't get into any of the action. They're just, we see them twice on a screen and then in the command center.
Right.
But the fact that Billy gave that invisibility technology to Adam and Aisha and the SPA is important because that's a precursor to the SPD continuity. So I like that nod. So, anyways, that's how they infiltrate the Moon Palace by the invisibility tech. Well, Min takes one of the clickers or whatever the devices.
Mm-hmm.
almost like a pen click.
Yeah.
I was very entertained by that, by the
Yeah.
way, because I was like, I got
They're
one of
really
those.
self-servicing you, Adam.
Yeah, it really, they really were. Um, and so she steals the rat bug, and then her plan was, well, if I can't kill Rita, I'm gonna kill her two lieutenants, Snizzard and the other one. So she ends up getting screwed because Rita and some more putties show up, and she again tries to morph. She can't. She tries to fight Rita unmorphed. It's a cool nod because she uses the praying mantis
Yeah, just like
technique
Trini.
of Trini. And again, I started to get emotional just seeing that because, damn it. Um, and even the way Rita was taunting her about her mother being dead, I'm like, damn it. This woman in robot form has gotten like she's not, she, yeah, she's not pulling any punches,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like she's vicious at this point. Um, so she captures Min and brings her to the Moon Palace, and she finds the other Rangers there, and there's this big battle because to save the trapped Rangers, they have to destroy Snizzard. They can't just start untangling them from that machine because that
Right.
would kill the other one. So there's this big battle where the unmorphed Rangers are battling, Snizzard, Minotaur, the putties, and Rita's trying in the mix there. And the Rangers getting their ass handed to them. Uh, Rita's got Billy in position to do what she did before,
Yep.
and Min, seeing this, jumps in, and she gets away from the Minotaur who is like holding her, and she intervenes and saves Billy. She gets hit with the blast, so it looks like it's killed her. And as all the Rangers converge on her, um, we see yellow energy, morphin energy, sort of lighting up in the morpher, which Min had in her jacket pocket. And all of a sudden, Min opens her eyes, and we get flashbacks, like she's seeing her mother as a ranger.
Mm.
And it was cool how the shot was the setup of the shot was really cool because they zoomed in on Min's eyes,
Yep.
and we saw the footage in her eye. That was really cool. I
Yeah.
love
I
that.
saw her mother. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was also really cool because she's never seen her mother as a ranger. So for her to get to see that,
Mm-hmm.
that's a bit of closure for her, which I liked. Um, so she's now she's revitalized. She's engulfed in morphin energy, so she's now a full-fledged ranger. And Zach's like, you know what that means? You want to say it? And so she does
Yeah.
it's morph time, and they all morph. And there's one shot I gotta say they did some things to those suits because they were the spandex, but they looked upgraded. There was a shot when they morphed with Min. They almost look like the '95 movie suits. They had that kind of
Yeah. They
shine
looked
to them.
really
I
cool.
was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is badass.
Yeah.
So like now we're getting into some big time fighting. Min is using those saber tooth daggers, and like she's. I mean, again, let's talk about the grow up. She's stabbing those, but like there's no just hitting them and like you see the daggers going through those putties, right? I love that. Then as Rita gets pissed off and so she throws Snizzard onto the moon, and in typical Rita fashion, makes him grow.
Yeah.
As she's distracted in doing that, Billy stabs her again through the back, and you see the blade of his staff coming out of Rita. Never would have saw that 30 years ago,
Nope.
because the censors would have been like, "Oh, we can't show that in the kids' show."
Yeah.
So he seemingly kills Rita, we think. Snizzard is now large. She make my monster grow. She did that. And then they got to call on the Megazord. And I got to tell you, Zeddy, they recreated the shot. And I thought it looked fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the CGI Megazord looked great.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
don't care what anybody says. It looked great. What'd you think?
No, it looked modern. It looked updated. It looked, you know what? It looked exactly, I think, what it needed to look like in
Yeah.
2023.
I don't think you could have done what they
Yeah.
did, which is have a guy in a suit
Mm-hmm.
back in '93.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I saw some people, it looked worse than the '95 movie. Bullshit.
No. You can. I think you grew up
That
when you watched
Megazord
that in
look.
the 90s. Yeah.
I'll go further. You know how much I love the 2017 movie,
Right.
but this Megazord looked better than that Megazord tenfold. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I agree with that. It was so in vain with the franchise, right? Like it looked a little bit modern. You know, they gave
yeah,
it a little bit more budget. The
yeah.
suits had a little bit
Look,
more of
it's
a
not going to
shine
look
to
like
it.
Avatar visual effect. Let's be like,
Right.
who are we kidding here,
Yeah.
right? I mean, what do you think the budget is? But
Right.
to say that,
It didn't really look like a video game to me, which most of
yeah,
those sequences did, like
yeah,
on that moon, you know?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. So I love
I
that. I
liked
thought it
it.
was great, and having it CGI, the stuff that it could do.
Yep.
Like it was actually engaging in a full-on fight, and its movement was fluid. It wasn't just you know really slow punch,
Right.
really
Yeah,
lethargic
you can
kick.
tell.
Like the
Hmm.
movements were fantastic. And again, at first it was just Min and Billy. Then the other five eventually joined. But when they do slash Snizzard with the sword, when they call him the bar sword, again they slashing and you seeing the sword go like hit. It's
Hmm.
not just clang and then an explosion and the guy blows up like you're actually seeing stabbing happening or
Hmm.
slicing, which I appreciate it, right? Because
Yep.
this is for the grown-up fans.
Right.
Before, and of course, we also got to mention that before the other Rangers get in the Megazord. I know we're all over the place, but it was cool because they kill Minotaur, and it's a Zack and Rocky combo.
Hmm.
So Zack hits him with the what is it? What's his weapon? Come on, why am
Mastodon?
I no, yeah, but the weapon,
Oh,
the axe, the axe.
yeah, the X. Yeah.
Zack knocks him down with the axe, and then and he's like, "You're up, Rocky." And Rocky gets the sword, does like a spinning leap,
Yeah, that was cool.
and stabs him. Again, you see the sword going in, and
Yeah.
I love
They
Cat's line.
really gave him some cool
Yeah,
moments. Yeah.
yeah. And Cat's line was like, I gotta say that was pretty intense, which was pretty funny. And then Rita gets up and it looks like her mission is complete because we actually see the portal opening up and we're seeing the scene from Day of the Dumpster when those two idiot astronauts saw something in space and their first interaction was, what harm could it cause? Let's open it. God help us if any astronauts were that stupid, because there would be some kind of residue by now. Alien
This thing is
pathogen.
glowing in purple and black. Let me go ahead and open it.
Yeah. So anyway, so we start seeing after 10,000 years, I'm free nonsense. And the way they did that with there was a shot where obviously the video footage, but there's a shot where you're seeing it from Robo Reader's perspective, and so we're seeing the behind of the portal, and
Hmm.
it actually was like CGI kind of OG Rita that looked pretty cool.
Yep.
And then it's cool because Min had thrown the daggers like to trap Rita, and then Kat got to use the bow and arrow to kill her, and so like they gave everybody their moment in the sun to shine, even though Billy and Zach got the lion's share of the screen time, I think.
Yep.
And I think that was fair. I like the way they did it.
Hmm.
What did you think of the third act battle?
Yeah, I thought it was really obviously the third act. I think pays the most respect and homage to the
Yeah,
the fans that
yeah,
grew up with the series. Obviously having Billy essentially leading the charge. Being in the
yeah,
middle too. I thought was
yeah. He
really
was driving the Megazord. He was
you
piloting it.
know obviously men learning I guess as fast as it is, kind of like the 2017 movie where like nobody in their right mind would learn how to operate a machine.
Right, but she
Quick,
had.
quick as like
But,
that.
but
But
the cool thing is, she had prior. At least with the martial arts, she had prior background. So
right,
you can. I'm sure her
yeah,
mom taught her
yeah.
in continuity.
But yeah, no, my honestly, Adam, my favorite part is just seeing all of them like work together.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right,
That
right?
fight
Like
scene
like
with the.
like
Yeah,
Rocky's kind of doing his thing in the bag. Zach's trying to do his thing. Kat's using her experience.
yeah.
With that, and then Billy's
When they were
yeah,
all morphed and fighting. Oh,
yep. It
it
was it
was
was
good.
good. It was awesome. They were down and out, and then when they succeeded the day, and then I think the good riddance part too of like when Zach's the one that gets to do the blast
Yeah, and he's like, "This
on
is for
Robo
training,"
Leader, and
and you
this
could even
training.
hear in his voice like
Yep,
the seriousness, the intensity that he had, like,
yep,
and
yep.
well deserved and well warranted,
Exactly. Yeah.
well
So it
executed.
hit all the right beats. That's what it
Yeah,
did.
yeah. Um, so then we're back at the command center. Basically, uh, the what are they called? The Aquatarians are helping to
Mm-hmm.
um, to
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
The Equatorian.
they're
Yep.
helping to
Because Ecuador. Yeah.
bring back the full size the Rangers that were trapped. They're off screen, obviously, and Adam and Aisha are going to go and facilitate that. And they asked Billy if he wants to go because remember, Billy's got a girlfriend over there,
Hey, it does.
and he's getting it on interspecies style.
It's a cool Zeo nod right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and but so Adam asked him if he wanted to go. He said, "I can't right just now. I got some things to take care of, but I'll be there when I can."
Yep.
So Rocky and Kat are sent back to their lives where they were beforehand. And then we see Zach, Min, and Billy at the juice bar. And much like many episodes of Power Rangers ended, they were having a conversation with
Yeah. That's the.
their shakes, their juices, and it's basically them telling Min about that she's a ranger now, and only teleport when you're not being watched, and Min is saying that when she saw those visions of her mother, she could understand how connected and how much her mother loved her friends and the group. And Min apologized to Billy for the way she treated him. There was really this. It was a moment and a set of dialogue that really kind of emphasizes that they're not just a team of heroes; they're a family. And I thought that was really, really important. Um, um, I thought it was a great way to end off.
Mm-hmm.
And then two things happen at the end. So they do a Mighty Morphin intro that is in the style of the old show, but with the updated, cast. And
Mm-hmm.
I like the transitions from old to new with the returning.
Yep.
Um, and then at the very end, we get it's a clip of the original Mighty Morphin show when I
Here we
think
go.
it was the episode where Tommy had lost the Green Ranger power
Yeah.
and he was sad, and Kimberly and the group sang him that song, and so they replayed that or bits of that, and then they had in memory of Tui Trang and Jason David Frank, once a Ranger, always a Ranger. And that was hard to watch.
Grown men don't cry. Yeah, right.
Because grown men don't cry for Power Rangers. I have Kleenex that will tell you otherwise.
Man.
But yeah, that was very powerful, very touching, and uh, very appropriate. And I think Amy Jo must have okayed that.
Yeah.
Because it didn't look like 1990s. I mean, it was 1990s footage, but I think they cleaned it up.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, um, and maybe Amy Jo, I don't know, but maybe Amy Jo and Walter did some like redubbing because it sounded crisper. Like it didn't sound like 1993. And I know that doesn't make sense, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure.
There's that crackling. There's that. It didn't sound like any of that. So
Right.
But that brings us to the end of the special, Nick. So overall thoughts and a rating.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's now I started thinking about how powerful and emotional that ending was. Yeah, man. Like I know I remember DMing you instantly, like, just how gutted I was like when I saw that, right? Like just how beautiful. To me, like the special just did all the right things, and
Yeah,
to me that was kind of like the cherry on top, was that, as sad and emotional as that ending got me, it was so fitting, like you said too, that they decided to not only pay respect to Tring like they did the whole episode, but to throw JDF in there at the end, and they really like make sure to focus on him too, in
yeah,
that little
yeah,
flashback thing too, and look, they showed who they could. Probably
yeah.
like you said too, Jason. They couldn't exactly show full on, but he was there. Obviously, the other ones were
They
there
were
too.
all they were all, and that's the impressive part. They were all there in a way.
Exactly. You had a nice mix of the older ones that were still there and the newer ones that came along. So to me, it was just the special catered to exactly who it was intended for,
Yeah,
which were people like us that watched it in the '90s, that grew up with the franchise as it went on. For me, the most beautiful part of it, and I know I've said this before on episodes, but it was these actors to come back 30 years later in this powerful thing that is nostalgia right
yeah,
now
yeah,
is what meant a lot to me. Regardless if the special didn't end up being that great, it was just seeing them come
yeah,
back.
yeah,
It was like, because a lot of these actors, this was a minimum wage job for them.
yeah.
A lot of them never intended to be Academy Award winning actors or go on star in action movies or anything like that. This was just no different than being a glorified high school job that paid the bills at the time for a lot of these people, right? And a lot of them put the franchise in their past, and respectfully so. It had nothing to do with what happened to them. Some of them had traumatic experiences, in a franchise like Bailey. So it was just the idea of seeing like Billy and Zach back, seeing Rocky get respect put on his name, seeing Cat. So it was just a beautiful special to me that just had me grinning from ear to ear. So I again did I was critiquing this special a little bit differently than I would have something else. So my thing is, I'm glad Netflix decided to do this. I'm sure there is definitely another story for them to tell. There's a revolving cast of actors in this franchise that, should you decide to do another special, there are, I'm sure, tons of people that would be willing to come back.
I think
Especially
there could be a sequel to this one and other ones.
exactly. So you know what, Adam? Are we gonna give this out of 5 or 10? What do you think?
Give it a letter grade.
I'm gonna give this one an A+, because I think this one hit all the right beats for me. I got really no complaints on it.
Yeah, I think for me, I love how they balanced the tone because they kept the campiness and cheese, and I say both of those things with respect and love because that's what it is. But
Yep.
that's what it was when we watched it. So they kept elements of that, but they also realized that okay, these people grew up, so we have to grow this up with them,
Yep.
and they did that, and the balance worked perfectly. There was just enough of both that fulfilled me. Um, the in terms of a story, from the story point of view, they gave you enough familiarity and nostalgia, like they played up on that, while telling a new story, progressing the characters. And they found the balance there too. That's equally as important. The fight scenes were in the vein, they were on par with what we've come to know from this franchise, and I like that. And also the VFX for the Megazord and the way the putties dissolved was very much like the 2017 movie. The way the putties dissolved, but the Megazord looked great. I'm having the same guy come back and do the music. It felt just right. The morphine sequences were great. The teleportation sequences were great. So all that was top tier. And like I said before, outside of the comic books and most of the 2017 movie, with little caveats, this is the best Power Rangers thing we've seen in probably decades.
Yeah.
So I'm right there. I laughed, I cheered, and I cried, and
It's Power Rangers.
it was great. And so for me, it's an A+ as well. And here's what I think. I think this is going to get a sequel. Because you don't introduce Min for a one-off and then discard the character. That's number one. Number two, they mentioned JJ twice.
Yeah.
Why? What for? Once was enough. There's a reason.
Playing idea legacy.
Could Min and JJ eventually be part of a new MMPR team in the sequel to this special?
I can see it.
And have Billy and Rocky and Kat and Zach be the mentors? I can see it. I mean, they'd have to explain away, because I was thinking, oh, cool, they could do a take on Soul of the Dragon, but how do you explain away Tommy?
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to work his death into the equation, or make it so that the character is so injured that he can no longer perform. But either way, so in lieu of that, I think we're going to get I think this is going to do well enough to greenlight a sequel, and it's going to have JJ and Min sort of being part of a new MPR team with those OGs sort of coming back. And hey, maybe in a different kind of, imagine, let's hope for the best for Austin St. John. Hopefully he didn't do what he's been accused of doing.
Right.
If he gets off, great. Right? If he gets cleared, maybe he can come back in the sequel. And, I still don't think we'll see Amy Joel, but it makes sense if Kat is his mother, that she be the one, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so I just think there's more here, and I think it was done again. You don't create a character like Min and reference JJ for nothing. So I don't think we've seen the last of them.
And look at all the cameos that we got too from all the different Rangers that we'd have collected too. I mean, there's a lot of lore there. So
I mean, didn't Tommy mentor? What was that season?
Dino Thunder. Yeah,
right.
the Red
One
Ranger
of those guys
was there.
Could come. Yeah, right. Yeah. So he could come back.
The red and the white was there.
Yeah. So they can come back as a sort of thing, to fill his void, maybe, or something.
Yeah.
So I mean, JJ would be the green because that makes sense. But you have one of his students, the Tommy mentor, be one of the other ones. So, but I think there's a sequel here in play.
Yeah, there's ways you can do it.
And you could still have the reboot and do all that stuff, and they're in a position where they can have their cake and eat it too. So I hope this continues to do the numbers that it's doing, and I hope we do get that. But that about wraps this up. We had a blast. We obviously love the special. We hope most of the people listening to this did too. We'll be back with more Power Rangers content in the very near future. But until then, you can talk Power Rangers with us on social media. So, Nick, where did they find you?
Yeah, thank you, good Adam. This was a blast. Like you said too, I hope everybody that watched the special thoroughly enjoyed it, and make sure to let us know what you thought of the special as well, because that's always cool to hear from people as well. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Nick Zennick. I am the co-host of the Vigilante 1939 podcast. You can find that podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. Again, that's at Vigilante 1939, and hope to be back here again very, very soon. Thank you, Adam.
Indeed. And if you want to chat with me about the Power Rangers or any of the Pink Rangers that are on my list, you can.
We went through the whole episode without.
Wait a minute. By the
Amazing.
way, we saw Amy Jo Johnson in the post credit the song. Amy Jo is still on the list. Come on, you know how to do it.
Nice stuff pen you got there, my friend.
Yeah. Anyway, if you want to follow me, it's at Adam_Leafsfan on Twitter. The podcast network has a social media Twitter account at MMNPDC. We have a Facebook group, which is listed in the description below. Click that. I will add you. And we can continue the conversation there. But until next time, remember, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers are forever. And once a Ranger, always a Ranger. From the first morph to the last. So long, everybody.